I once made a video on what if Spartacus and Crixus did not split. However, I wanted to revisit the topic and make it more short and precise. So without wasting any time, let's go. The combined forces. By combining their forces, Crixus and Spartacus would have created a much larger and more powerful army, obviously. The combined strength of their fighters would have made them an even greater threat to the Roman forces. Unity between Crixus and Spartacus would have allowed for better coordination and synchronization of the military strategies they could have had and done. They could have devised more effective battle plans, making it harder for the Roman Republic to counter their attacks, as opposed to Spartacus being alone after Crixus had died. They would not lose to Crassus as in the series had they not split. Would they have fought where Crixus and Crassus had fought? In front of Rome. The combined military strength and improved coordination might have led to more strategic victories for the rebels. This could have allowed them to capture key Roman cities, disrupt supply lines, and garner further support from other slave populations, potentially widening the scope of the rebellion even further. Yet they were in front of the gates of Rome. All of this heavily depended on what they want to do from here onwards, because there is no way that Crixus and Spartacus would not have split if their ambition is not one, and that means Spartacus needs to follow Crixus with the ambition to defeat Rome and enter it, to defeat it once and for all, or at least a large portion of it. Crixus and Spartacus' pursuing ambition would need to be united as one and not different than one else's. What would need to be considered is that Crixus and Spartacus, given they defeat Crassus, as he had no other chance to attack them to be able to stop the rebellion from entering the city, what would they do after they defeated Caesar and Crassus? They would be in desperate need to retreat for the moment and tend to their injured men, regather the men and supplies, swords, armory, all that stuff. Whereas Rome would do so as well, but on a smaller scope because they still have their legions and men, as well as Pompey coming. Given the man and Crassus all were lost, this would mean a heavy blow for Rome because Crassus was one of the most powerful and rich leaders they had. Caesar was within the battle of Crassus as well. Given they beat Crassus and Caesar, what then? There is still Pompey waiting, with his legions and army on top. Yes, Rome does not have unlimited supplies either, and unlimited legions for Spartacus, but on a much larger scope than Spartacus does. They could have entered Rome and certainly made some damage, but nothing lasting. If their decision would be to live free, the rebellion and away from Rome, this could certainly be accomplished by their combined forces. Should they decide to do so, marching into Rome one way or the other would be their end though, combined army or not. They could have entered Rome and certainly made damage, but nothing lasting. But let's assume Spartacus is smart and decides to bail on Roman land and heads north into what is today's Eastern Europe to set up their own independent state. He's still going to have trouble, even assuming Roman forces wouldn't follow him. Here's the few reasons why. Number 1. The land he is headed towards is already occupied with Germanic and Celtic tribes who are amazing fighters and will likely not take kindly to a force of 120,000 slave rebellion fighters just coming out of nowhere. Number 2. When the slave army is safe from Rome, they have no reason to stick together, and some of the slave rebellion men might even try and head back to their homeland if that is an option. Others might break off to do their own thing, since the threat of Rome is no longer looming over as a common enemy. They have less reason to stick together overall. Number 3. The army Spartacus runs has people from all over the Mediterranean and European world. Cultural divisions are going to pop up. Let's say some Germans decide to pick a fight on the Gauls in Spartacus's army. So Spartacus is forced to pick a side. The other side gets mad and deserts, or worse, decides to completely leave the rebellion, steal their supplies, kill a few of their men. You never know what happens. Spartacus's rebellion wasn't always won as a one-man army, If Spartacus and his men escape from Roman territory, they would likely, as said, break up into smaller bands and go their separate ways, perhaps integrating into the tribes north of Rome, but a long-standing state is either going to collapse shortly after its creation or more likely get crushed by furious Roman legions, because there is no way that when Spartacus would decide to open his own state, as for example in Sinuessa, even away from Rome, that Rome would just sit there and watch Spartacus, gather his supplies and let his army grow. There's no way I can see that happening. So one way or the other, they would likely fall, even if combined or not. But there's the chance that they might live free if they decided to do so with all of their army. And that would eventually split, and Rome wouldn't have enough men and supplies to hunt all of them down. This would basically be the conclusion of all the possibilities I could come up with had they not split. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on my next Spartacus video. Thank you for watching.